Israeli warplanes target villages in southern Lebanon, killing 2 civilians and injuring others. Israeli airstrikes kill 5 Palestinians and injure others in the Nuseirat camp in central Gaza. And occupation adds 2 massacres in northern Gaza's Jabalia, hitting residential buildings housing over 170 civilians. Good afternoon, it's 4 o'clock Cairo time and you're watching Qnews. We begin today's bulletin with the latest developments in Lebanon.
كل المستهدفين هن مدنيين.
وضع شيء مرعب، شيء بخوف.
Two Lebanese civilians have been killed and others have been injured as Israeli warplanes targeted villages in the Tyre and Bin Jabil districts in southern Lebanon. Israeli airstrikes destroyed a residential block, including public and private services, near the Imam Hussein complex in Tyre. Heavy gunfire also targeted the outskirts of Nakura, Jabal al-Labuna and Alma al-Shab. Have sounded close to Lebanon. The Israeli occupation forces stated that a number of suspicious aerial targets crossed from Lebanon into northern Israel and that sirens sounded several times. Israeli media have reported that 4 drones were launched from Lebanon toward northern Israel, with only 1 intercepted by the Israeli occupation army. Sirens echoed across Haifa Bay, Nahariya, Acre and around 20 towns in the Galilee region, following warnings of suspected aerial intrusions. Reports indicate that 1 drone hit a factory in Nahariya in northern Israel. The occupation army has also reported that 10 rockets were launched from Lebanon toward Haifa Bay and the Galilee, with some intercepted while others landed in open areas. Sirens also sounded last night in Tel Aviv and its surroundings, as the army noted additional rocket launches from Lebanon. Meanwhile, Israeli police confirmed 19 injuries from a rocket hitting the town of Tyre in central Israel. Turkish humanitarian ship approximately 1,000 tons of urgent relief supplies of route. According to a statement from the Turkish embassy in Lebanon, the mission was organized and by organizations led by the Haysa Sadaka Association. The shipment aims to assist the Lebanese people who have been facing attacks from Israeli forces for over a month. Israel's public broadcaster has reported that the Israeli occupation army is nearing the end of its first phase of its ground operation in southern Lebanon, which began a month ago. As we mentioned, thousands of occupation army troops and reserve soldiers are expected to be released by the weekend. The broadcaster claimed the operation has achieved significant goals, including uncovering Hezbollah's infrastructure. Escalating tensions have raged all along the Israel-Lebanon border as Israeli aggression intensifies amid ongoing US-mediated talks for a potential ceasefire.
Israeli aggression over Lebanon has intensified continue, marked by escalating Israeli attacks and sustained U.S. peacekeeping operations amid potential. Israeli media report that Israel's military is nearing the end of its first operational phase in southern Lebanon, with plans for redeployment along the border. This development aligns with US-mediated discussions aimed at achieving a ceasefire and potentially advancing a political solution with Lebanon. Following these reports, Hezbollah announced an attack on Israel's Galilot base near Tel Aviv, affiliated with military intelligence unit 8200, stating the strike was in retaliation for intensified Israeli assaults on northern areas. Israeli airstrikes on Lebanon have resulted in significant casualties. The Lebanese Ministry of Health reports that recent strikes in the Baalbek-Hermel area killed at least 52 people, including residents from multiple villages with no evacuation orders issued. In response to the intensified conflict, UN Under-Secretary General Jean-Pierre Lacroix confirmed that UN peacekeepers UNIFIL will remain in southern Lebanon to maintain stability, rejecting Israel's request for a partial withdrawal. As international mediation efforts proceed, UN presence is crucial in preventing further escalation.
Well, for more analysis on this, we cross over to the newsroom where Selma is waiting. Selma.
Thank you, Mark. For further analysis on the situation in Lebanon, we are joined from Beirut by Brigadier General Marcel Beloudi, the military and strategic expert. Mr. Marcel, thank you for joining us on Qnews. First off, I want to start with Israel's redeployment along the Lebanese border. What are the military and strategic implications of it, and how might it affect regional balance?
Question for
Would you like me to repeat the question? Okay. Along the Lebanese border, what are the military and strategic implications of it, and how might it affect regional balance?
مساء الخير لضيفك وللمستمعين الكرام.
Good afternoon. In fact, the situation in Lebanon, in fact, is the Israeli forces have deployed in a number of villages in the south, and in fact, the Israeli forces are trying to demolish the infrastructure of villages, and they are trying as well to demolish Hezbollah forces and to destroy all missile bases. In fact, the party is working with the tools of ideology. However, what Israel is doing is that it is trying to displace the population of the south for many years, and it is trying to maintain its long-term track the resistance of Hezbollah. And in fact, execute on the strategic goal of Israel, which is the demolishing of the perimeter of the 10-kilometer on the borders, and as well the encampment of Hezbollah. In fact, in the suburbs, what is being done is that the incubating environment is being from the resistance. In fact, the displacement project of Israel is now being carried out in a way that is more vicious. And in fact, Israel until now is or wants monitoring from five main France and Germany, and it wants to have full control over Lebanese airspace and to strike all opposing forces.
Now, in light of the ceasefire proposal in Lebanon that the United States is aiming to implement, what strategy is Israel pursuing at this stage, and what are its real objectives, both stated and unstated?
In fact, the problem of the United States is to bring radical change into the Middle East. It started with Hamas in Gaza and moved on to Lebanon, and is definitely going to move towards Iran. In fact, what's happening right now is the Hezbollah is that Hezbollah is losing field, and what is being done is that a lot of international rules and regulations are being operationalized in order to the authority in Lebanon. And in fact, the military change alone in Lebanon will never be enough. It has to come in tandem with changing leading structures, political structures in Lebanon as well.
And how do you assess the United States' efforts to achieve a political settlement between Israel and Lebanon? And can these efforts yield effective results given the current escalation?
In fact, the United Nations efforts are ongoing until the 5th of this month, but we hope after the elections what's going to happen is not going to be a mirror of what happened in Iraq. In fact, Lebanon, we wish Lebanon to have the elections to the Lebanese people to live peacefully. And we want only the Lebanese army to be on the border and to have authorities. And in fact, the disruption of the sovereignty of the Lebanese army is something we completely reject. In fact, the international community should support this. And in fact, we and the task, just like in Jordan, just like in Egypt, all these implementing and executing on international decisions. In fact, there has been growth of the use of arms internally. The Israeli operations thoughtful, or else we are going for specifically in the south.
Now, sir, looking at the wider picture, what are the possible scenarios for ending the escalation between Israel and Hezbollah, and which seems most likely in light of recent developments?
The execution of 1071 is no possible now. The decision and the law 16 or the decision 1680 should as well be operationalized. All the sects of Lebanon should have equal opportunities, and militant sects should never be on the front line and have more opportunity than other sects. As well, I would like to say that Lebanon would never be a sovereign, strong state unless decisions 1559 and 1701 and 1680 are operationalized. They need to be operationalized. That is of dispute and conflict happening. We'll go back to a scene in which the Lebanese army doesn't have any authorities, and we're going to go back to a scenario in which Hezbollah has full control over. We need to have international decisions that
Sorry for interrupting you due to a shortage of time. Thank you so much for your valuable insights. Now we're going to move back to Mark for more news and developments around the world.
Thank you for that, Selma. Very interesting interview. And now we're going to cross over to a live broadcast because it's just a few days until the US elections, and the presidential candidate, Kamala Harris, is having a media gaggle, like a press conference in Milwaukee. Let's cross over to that now.
Kind of leadership that we need moving forward.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. I wanted to ask you about your day one agenda. I know you said the other day you talked about executive order that would eliminate college degrees for certain federal jobs.
Yes.
Can you tell us about some other day one priorities?
Absolutely. Well, obviously there's more than one,
yes.
And one of them is going to be to submit basically a package of proposals that are about bringing down costs. So, for example, housing. What we need to do in terms of creating a tax benefit for folks who want home ownership, what we're going to do to create a $25,000 down payment assistance plan, what we're going to do for small businesses. All of that will require a lot of work, and day one is also me getting on the phone with members of the Republican Party, with leaders, with the private sector. A lot of my plan includes working with the private sector. My plan includes cutting through red tape on the issue of housing again. That includes working with local and state leaders to cut through the red tape. And for the private sector, builders and actually build new housing so we can increase supply and bring down the cost. Charles.
God's power works through us.
Yes.
What does your faith tell you about who God wants to win this election and lead our divided country?
Think about our lives through our ability to do good works, and through those works to lift people up, to help the needy, to help the poor, to help people.
As Kamala Harris giving her morning briefing to journalists as the two candidates crisscross those all-important swing states before the election on Tuesday. To the in Gaza. in Gaza City, including Zaytun and Sabra. The Israeli occupation army has committed 2 massacres in northern Gaza's Jabalia, hitting residential buildings housing over 170 civilians. Palestinian media confirmed that at least 84 deaths had occurred, including children, with dozens more missing or injured. Palestinian media have reported that bodies of 5 Palestinian victims were retrieved from under homes in northern Nuseirat camp after airstrikes targeted homes in the camp in central Gaza. Al-Awda hospital victims and were also shelled by artillery. Tonight, Israel continued to demolish residential buildings in northern Nuseirat. So to the economy now, and Fitch ratings have upgraded for default rating B- to B with a stable outlook, highlighting improvements in external finances, exchange rate flexibility and policy reforms. Fitch reported that Egypt's international reserves rose by $0.4 billion to in 2024, boosted by the Ras Al Hikmah investment and increased non-resident holdings of on external borrowing, including an $8 billion IMF facility and 7.4 billion euros in EU support, has helped cover the current account deficit. Foreign direct investment is expected to average $16.5 billion annually through 2026, bolstering economic resilience. Israel's cabinet is voting on strict austerity budget to address soaring defense costs stemming from the ongoing war on Gaza and Lebanon. The budget includes 40 billion shekels in cuts and tax hikes, including raising the value added to 18% as part of fiscal tightening measures. Benjamin Netanyahu emphasized economic restraint, stating there is no economy without restrictions. The budget allocated 102 billion shekels for defense out of a total of 744 billion shekels, aiming to reduce Israel's deficit from 8.5% to 4% of GDP. The end of our news bulletin, but here's a recap of those headlines. Israeli warplanes target villages in Lebanon, killing 2 civilians and injuring others. Israeli airstrikes kill 5 Palestinians and injure others in the Nuseirat camp in central Gaza. And the massacre in northern Gaza's Jabalia, hitting residential buildings and civilians. And this concludes the news bulletin for the hour. Don't forget, you can follow us on YouTube, Facebook, X, Instagram, and TikTok. Our handle is @Qnews. And you can, for real-time updates, connect with us on the UMS digital platform. Watch it. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more updates here on Qnews.